What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to the Versus series. This is a series where I take two statistically similar elements from the game, and I put them side by side, compare their stats, to find out which one is best. In today's episode, we're going to be getting into the LMG category and taking a look at the Lewis versus the VMG 1927. Both of these LMGs are very similar in a lot of ways, but there are a few key differences, so let's hop into the comparison. Starting it off with damage, both of these have a damage profile of 40-30, which means in core game modes, they're going to be a 3 or 4 shot kill. However, I do want to mention that with both of these LMGs, the range that they drop off to that 4 shot kill is so ridiculously far away that it's not possible to find a practical line of sight in this game long enough to drop off to the 4 shot kill range, and therefore both of these LMGs are going to be a 3 shot kill. When we look at rate of fire, this is the first difference we see here. With the Lewis, we get a standard rate of fire of 517 rounds per minute, and with the VMG, it's noticeably faster at 545 rounds per minute. With rapid fire, the Lewis is 571 rounds per minute, and the VMG is 600 rounds per minute. So while I would still say they're similar in the rate of fire department, you can definitely tell the difference between the Lewis and the VMG. This brings us to time to kill, and you'll see the Lewis within its 3-shot kill range, which, like I said, for both of these is going to be every one of its ranges. It's going to have a statistical minimum time to kill of 232 milliseconds, whereas the VMG's time to kill is going to be 220 milliseconds. Once again, just like with my comparison with the Proto X1 and the PPSH, we're only looking at about a 1 frame difference in time to kill, assuming you're hitting every single one of your shots. So in a perfect scenario where you hit every single one of your shots perfectly, you probably won't notice the time to kill difference at all between these two. The difference really starts to come in when you have those missed shots, which tends to happen in a lot of realistic situations. If you're missing some shots, this is where that time to kill difference starts to become more apparent, and therefore the VMG is more forgiving if you're missing any shots. This brings us to the handling department, and for aim down sight time, both of these have the exact same aim down sight time at 300 milliseconds, which is good for LMGs, but not that great when you compare it to like SMGs and a lot of the rifles in the game. And we get the exact same values for both of these for our sprint out time as well at 300 milliseconds. Next up we have magazine capacity, and our standard magazine capacity with the Lewis is 47 rounds with 94 in reserve, whereas with the VMG we have a few more rounds at 50 rounds with 100 in reserve. Not really a super noticeable difference here. I would technically classify these as being practically the same in the magazine capacity department, but when we pop extended mags on here, this is where the Lewis gains the edge. The Lewis gets a 97 round magazine with extended mags with 194 in reserve, whereas the VMG gets a 75 round magazine with 200 in reserve. So it's pretty clear here, if you're planning on using extended mags, the Lewis gets the clear advantage over the VMG. As for our reload time, both of these are very standard for the LMG category at 5.19 seconds and 5.17 seconds, which is pretty much a negligible difference, and I would say they have essentially the same reload time. Taking a look at hipfire, both of these LMGs have the exact same hipfire spread, which is pretty much standard for the LMG category. And finally, this brings us to recoil. As you can see with the Lewis, it's got very little recoil. It kicks up a very small amount. It does have a little bit of side-to-side sway as well, which will affect your shots at really long ranges. But generally, the Lewis is extremely accurate. And when we look at the VMG, you'll see that it has a bit more vertical recoil, so it will kick up a bit more, but it has a lot less horizontal recoil, which means I would say the VMG is actually easier to control than the Lewis, especially in those really long-range situations. And while I feel they're both very accurate, the VMG does get the slight edge here for me. And with that, that covers pretty much all the important stats with these two LMGs. And to me, it's actually pretty clear in this situation that the VMG is the better LMG. That's not to say that the Lewis is bad. I still think the Lewis is a top tier gun in this game. It's one of the best guns in public matches in this game. But I think the VMG is just a little bit better. It's got a slightly faster fire rate and therefore more forgiving time to kill. It's pretty much equal in every other category, aside from the fact that with extended mags you don't get quite as many rounds, but 75 is still very respectable. And finally, when it comes to accuracy, I feel more comfortable with the VMG. As a result, if you're giving me the choice between these two guns, I'm going to be taking the VMG every time. Of course, this is just my opinion based on the stats of these guns. I'd like to know in the comment section below, out of these two LMGs, which one do you prefer? Also, just a side note, if you guys haven't unlocked the VMG yet, I highly encourage you to do that if you have the opportunity, because this is one of the best guns in the entire game. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.